Am I the asshole for breaking down to my daughter the reality of moving out at 18? My eldest daughter is 16. Recently, she was mad because I asked her to sweep the living room. We all do chores in this house. That day I was cleaning the bathrooms, and I try to be as laxed as I can with it. If they say, "Can I do it at X time? I'm playing a game," then yes, of course. This wasn't the case with my daughter. She said she'd do it but complained the whole time, taking longer than if she had just done it. Eventually I leave what I'm doing and ask what's up. She says she finds chores unfair and that she can't wait to move out when she's 18. I said that she'd still have to clean her apartment and she'd be alone in doing it. She rolled her eyes and said she'd hire a maid. I said hopefully she has a good job at 18 to do so. I then mentioned rent, bills, etc. would be a factor. She looked at me like I had 8 heads. I explained the cost of rent in our area, HCOL, groceries, other bills that might not be included in rent. I said then there's insurance and other things. Basically, I said it's not impossible, but it's a lot to think about. Well, apparently this was wrong. My daughter went to my husband and said that I was breaking her dreams. My husband said I overreacted to teen angst and that I made her feel bad about herself. To me, I was real. I never said it couldn't be done, but that it's be hard. Am I the asshole? NTA, you weren't breaking her dreams, you were just giving her more realistic expectations of how the world works and what she would need to do if she wants to pursue that at 18. Not the asshole, she's 16, she needs to know about this stuff since she's gonna be 18 in less than 2 years. Like when are you supposed to teach your kids about bills? A day before their 18th b-day. Not the asshole, and I think you and your husband should sit down and plan a budget for her using local prices and a believable pay rate for someone 18 with no college, i.e., minimum wage or slightly higher, so she can see how it will work. She's probably never put much thought into it, and being shoved into reality is very scary for a teenager. Not the asshole, I giggled when I read that she would just hire a maid to clean. Tears of joy. If she's really that determined, you should let her live as a roommate, including splitting the bills as a test run to see how rough it is living alone. Including doing her own chores, cooking, laundry, etc. She'd crack very fast. Not the asshole. She needs to understand the basics of personal finance. Sure, she can make it on her own, but she needs to work for it, not dream it into being. Not the asshole, because everything you said is true and she obviously needed to hear it. Although I'm almost tempted to say ESH, because honestly, why did you wait till she was 16 and you were in a fight to explain the basic realities of life to her? Maybe double check that she knows about Santa and unicorns just to be safe. I'm going to risk being downvoted into oblivion and gently say you are the asshole op. She has absolutely no clue about the real world, budgeting, or even how much groceries would cost each week. If she was 12 it wouldn't be too important, but she's 16. Where did you expect her to learn that sort of stuff? As her parent, you should have been teaching her these important life skills. If she really is that naive, then you definitely have some work ahead of you. Nah, your daughter just sounds like an entitled and ignorant brat. Not unusually so for a teenager, and I'm not saying she's a bad person at all, or that she won't grow out of it, but that attitude is just bratty. You weren't the asshole at all. She's got her head in the clouds, and your info sounds like a useful reality check if she doesn't know the cost of apartments and hiring a household staff to take care of her. I think your husband was a little bit off base. He heard a one-sided description of the conversation, and as you said, you were just explaining the reality of costs, and why having hired help do your chores when you're 18 could be a stretch. Hopefully he backed off, and that's that. If he continued to argue details about a conversation he didn't even witness, I'd call him ta. Info: why is 16 the first your daughter is hearing about a household budget? Not the asshole. You weren't breaking her dreams, you were giving her a sorely needed reality check. If moving out on her own is her dream, you're just giving her the tools she needs to make it happen. I think it would be a fun exercise for her to price out what living on your own costs. Have her find apartments on Craigslist. Show her all the bills you pay. Have her figure out how much she would need to make in order to afford it. At her age she should be thinking about careers and colleges and her future. Not the asshole. She was being delusional. You gave her a wake-up call. Not the asshole. She needed a reality check. You provided. That "hire a maid" comment makes it clear as day that she doesn't know half as much about the business of living alone and all the responsibility that comes with it as she needs to or thinks she does. If she thinks basic questions like, "How are you going to pay your myriad bills?" is an attempt to crush her dreams, well then maybe they needed to be crushed, that which cannot withstand the hammer and all. You and her father ought to sit her down and walk her through exactly what moving out would be like, since she evidently needs more preparation. Not the asshole. She sounds spoiled. Needed a wake-up call. NTA, in my opinion she sounds spoiled, no offense. Is your daughter 6? Not the asshole. Breaking her dreams. What the hell is that? Getting everything for free? Are you sure she is 16, not 6? Not the asshole. An 18-year-old with no money and a made cold sweat smile, tears of joy rolling on the floor laughing. Parenting is about preparing your child for the future. There's nothing wrong with telling your child about what life requires of someone. What would be crushing her dreams would be telling her that fulfilling the HCOL rent, groceries, other bills, etc., would be impossible and that she won't succeed. But since you never talked about her career, and suggesting she'd fail at it, or tell her that her future jobs wouldn't pay those bills, you're not the asshole. Do yourself a favor though and sit down with your kids at some point to brainstorm their future college choices and career choices. It feels amazing to have a parent that wants to be a part of your success. Having a resourceful teammate during your late high school, college years feels good at that age. You are the asshole for not teaching her about this earlier. Seriously, what 16-year-old doesn't know that life costs money? If she looked at you like you were speaking nonsense when really you were conveying widely known truths about being an adult, I'd say you did her a disservice. Not the asshole. At some point, before they become adults, parents needs to tell their kids that 1. The only fair in this world has shitty rides and rigged midway games. 2. Nobody owes them a living once they're adults. 3. That they're not too good for hard work. 4. That the most likely interaction with a maid service they'll have is applying to work for one. I'm 19 in my first apartment and still pretty dependent on parents. One of the best things for her might be to cut her loose while she is at home with a safety net. That is to make her self-reliant. Have her get a job, pay for some of her stuff. This is absolutely why I have the kids sit down with me to pay the bills and go over the monthly budget. They need to learn. Her dreams of what? Having a housekeeper at 18 because she was being lazy? Your husband was wrong and you were correct. Not the asshole. Good parenting. Not the asshole. You told her what the real world is like and it doesn't sound like you were mean about it. Sounds like she needed a wake-up call if she really thought she would have a maid at 18. That day is gonna come eventually. Not the asshole. Sounds like she needed a wake-up call. Not the asshole. She needs to face the realities of life sooner or later. Sooner is better, emo. Not the asshole. This is absurd. You were doing exactly what a parent should do. Not the asshole, but she did not know about different costs of living until 16. Seriously? Not the asshole. What did she expect? That she'd just move out and everything would be some teenage sitcom? Not the asshole. It truth. If she still thinks this way at 16, you were right to break it down. Not the asshole. Someone needs a wake-up call. Not the asshole. You gave her a wake-up call. A parent can't always be their kid's best buddy. You told her the reality of what that situation would take. Not the asshole. Another reason why personal finance needs to be mandatory in all schools. Oh my God. It is terrifying she doesn't understand this stuff at 16. You and your husband need to start preparing her for adulthood. Not the asshole, but you will be if you don't start teaching this kid how to adult. At this rate she'll be as equipped to handle adulthood as a 10-year-old in 2 years. Not the asshole, but kinda still in awe, but only because this shouldn't have been a surprise to her because you and her other parent should have already talked to her about how to manage finances as an adult well before this point. Not the asshole, but holy hell, is this the first time you've had this conversation with her? Financial literacy should be something that's discussed early and often, so if this is really the first time you've explained to her how much adulting costs, and she's 2 years out from being launched into it, that's pretty rough. Eek. Not the asshole. Breaking her dreams? More like preventing her from breaking when she ends up in the real world at 18. My kid is 17, pays her own car insurance, has a job, writes a monthly budget, and is expected to factor savings into that budget. And she knows the cost of our own bills so she can know how much it costs when she's no longer being subsidized by her parents. Our goal as parents is to raise functioning adults, not to keep them from growing up until the very last second only to be blindsided. It's called a reality check. I think your husband one's of those too. Your daughter is lazy AF. I was breaking her dreams. Not the asshole, so it's better to let her remain completely naive? That would work out. Not the asshole. When I was 16 I wanted to move out, move to a different state, have my own apartment and car and all this random shit. But I was 16 and stupid. I then spent one night with my older sister, we don't get along so we don't talk, and I realized I was an idiot. Not the asshole. Better to have realistic expectations ahead of time than to learn the hard way when she can't afford rent. Not the asshole. This is what's wrong with my generation. People have been told it's hurtful, or rude, to be real with us. Guess what? Life will eventually be real with us, so just give the kids a heads up. Tough if they don't like it. If I had $1 for everything my parents did that I didn't like, I would be rich. But we get over it. Frankly, I think you deserve a medal for trying to prepare your child for what real life is in the real world. Not the asshole. She had a romanticized idea of what living on her own is like, and you explained the reality of the situation long before it reached a point where she couldn't back out. Maybe it was just teen angst, but that's not an excuse to get away with her behavior, and you weren't cruel or harsh with explaining the reality of life to her. Not the asshole. It's concerning how out of touch with reality your daughter is. Not the asshole. Her free trial of life is ending soon. She's going to hate the paid version of this game. Not the asshole. She's 16. If she doesn't even know what rent and utilities are and how much maids are paid in salary, then she's set up to fail in life and none of her dreams will come true anyway. Childhood is about preparing for adulthood with a safety net, not a delusional dreamland where you keep denying reality until 18. Not the asshole. I'm dying of laughter. Oh, your sweet summer child thinks she can hire a maid right at 18. Fresh out of high school in her first place. Tears of joy. I hope you broke down the cost of furnishing said apartment too, cause that's a whole other beast of expenses. My significant other and I work decent jobs and have a relatively LCOL, and he laughed when I asked if we could afford a maid. Tears of joy. Edit. He said if I want to hire a maid so badly I can hire him and pay him in a batch of blueberry muffins weekly. I'm now considering this offer as the box mix I use costs less than $3 and less than hour of labor on my part. Not a bad deal in my opinion. Not the asshole. By 16 a kid should be able to handle some realism, she needs to stop being so soft. Not the asshole. You gave your teenager a reality check, which a lot of teenagers need. One thing that the youth of the day, myself included at 23, struggle with is life skills because we were never taught them. From how to file your taxes to how to rewire a plug, no one thinks to teach them. You explained to your daughter the reality of the world.